Hi family, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're well. I hope you're enjoying the series, and I hope you're sharing if you know someone who's doing CTA. Make especially this part. Um, so I'll start with my study tips. So with the study tips, I brought props, ne. Okay. So anyway, I've touched on what I did, my scheduling and all of that because I was also working, ne? So now I'm going to dive deep into how I studied, right? Right. So the first things first, I need to be honest, right? So I did, like with UNISA, you have these things called support classes, support whatever, support something classes, I think. And I was with Edge Business School for my CTA. So what I did was that with Edge, I wouldn't listen to all the videos. I wouldn't watch all the videos. I wouldn't go through all the material because I don't want to say it because I was not doing CTA for the first time, but it could be part of the reason. But another thing is that, guys, you made it through undergrad. Let me get closer so you can see me. You made it through undergrad, you know your work, and you deserve to pass CTA. But you need to be confident in the things that you know. Accounting, okay, standards change because they revise them, but it's the same. Like, definition of an essay, okay, except for now because it's revised. It was the same when I was in third year and when I was in honors. Conceptual framework. Unless they're revising it, it's still the same. So please do not study as if you're still in undergrad. You don't know what it is. You already know what it is. Now you need to brush up on what you know. Okay? Yeah. So anyway, like, honestly, on a serious note, what I said is very important. You already know your work. If you pass undergrad, you know 50% of what's required for CTE. There will be just one or two things here or there where it's like fairly new. But other than that, it's the same. So honestly, if you got 50% for accounting in your undergrad, find out what the other 50% is because you don't know the other 50%. And then, trust me, passing CTA will not be that hard. So that's what I did. I was sat down and I was like, okay, so text I got. I don't want to say my text marks, but like text is my strongest subject, so I got really good marks. So I was like, okay, it means text I only have so much that I do not understand, and mainly for me with text it was that. So I'd make sure that I studied that, you know, and then with the other things I'll just revise, do a question, ne? Let's say it's capital allowances. I'll do a question on capital allowances, and then based on the mark that I get on that particular assessment that I did, I will assess what I don't know. So I'm not gonna go back and study everything, study what I know. I don't have time for that. There isn't enough time for all of that. So I would study the things that I don't know. So if maybe you don't understand section 20 cap A, you study that. You don't study the whole thing. So yeah, I want to say that I'm very passionate about that as well. So anyway, study what you don't know. Don't study what you know. And then sharpen your craft with what you know. So that's what I did differently, honestly, from the first time I did it to the second time. So I would then study hard for things I don't understand and don't know and consult on that. But with the things that I knew, I would do questions and then try find out what I don't understand, then figure it out. Right? Right. So that's what I did differently. And most importantly, this is why we have the prop. So the reason why we have this book now, when I was in third year, there was this lady, I think in terms of UNISA support groups, she's at CA campus, if I'm not mistaken. So probably if you're from UNISA and CA campus, maybe someone told you about it. I have something called a black book. Um, I don't know if you can see that, but if you can't see it, it's just my name and it's written black book. And then above the black book, I don't know, can you see that? You have Mac, which is your FBS, then accounting, auditing, and tax. So I separated it into those sections. I'll explain what a black book is. So, for example, this is what's on the first page. Yeah. But anyway, um, so I started. This lady told us about a black book. So she was just saying a black book is a book where you write down all your areas of concerns, things that normally, like those little details that normally you make mistakes on, or like something that you normally forget, and all of that. So for each section, if you were to go through this, there's just a lot of things that I've written down. So what I would do is that I would attempt a question. I'll give you an example with this one. This is manic, right? You can see it was a struggle for me because that's the first tag, honey. So anyway, I had this black book. So what I would write down, the first thing was it means I did a question that touched on section 24J, for like a loan, ne? So it was cost of debt. Uh, is it focusing? I don't know. But anyway, if you can't see, I'm sorry. So it was cost of debt, next section 24J. So I would write down the steps in terms of calculating and things I normally forget. And then I also wrote down if it's a loan and it's not under section 24J, this is how you calculate it and all of that. So for me, that's what worked. Like this book honestly worked for me. And then valuations, I had a lot of things in jail where I just wrote down things I need to remember, even things where, like, for example, it's a calculation, so that I don't forget a step. I would write it down, have hypothetical amounts. I want to go to an accounting one and show you what I mean. So I'll do like your T account, for example. For Is it focusing? Yeah, so I'll do like a T account for accounting and all of that. So guys, it's very important. If anything, if I have said nonsense about all these videos, please take this one to heart. It doesn't have to be a black, like in color, be a black book. It can be an exam pad, but something that you would have for a minute, like something that you can keep for a while, because you might need it for your ITC as well. It does come in handy. So what I did was, whenever I'd do a question, I'd write down areas that I struggle with, the calculations and all of that. Not necessarily copy the memo, but the way I understand something. So chances are, if someone was to read my black book, they wouldn't understand what I was talking about until I explained. So you should have your own book where you write down, like even when you go consult on a question that you struggled with, ne? Write down what the lecturer said in your black book in terms of approach, or whoever you're consulting, in fact, in terms of approach or whatever. So when the time comes, ne, and it's exam time, instead of you going back to the question and whatever and doing it again, you just go through your black book and say, oh, kind of valuations they said, if I value it from the acquirer's point of view, I do this. I mean, mergers and acquisition, by the way. And if I value it from the acquiree, those type of things, you already have it in your black book. You don't have to do three other questions. So you can just do maybe one or two integrated questions. So this book, guys, this book is the holy grail, right? You must have this book. And funny enough, I didn't have it. She told us this in third year, ne? I didn't use this black book situation in third year. First attempt CTA, I didn't. Second attempt, I use the stick. So normally, with your exam scarcity A, you have breaks in between. So during that break, as I'm having my lunch, I'd go through my black book. Say I'm writing text. I'll go through and be like, oh, dividend tax, what must I remember? It's 20%, section 9 cap E, subsection 5 cap A, corporate rules. These are normally things that I would most likely maybe forget. My favorite one that I told you guys I struggle with in terms of tax, that. So I honestly, if anything, I don't know how many times I can say this. If everything else you couldn't relate to, please uh, do try it. Have a black book. With test one, when you go through your test one, where you went wrong and everything else, write it in your black book, because it's gonna come back and bite you, and you probably have forgotten about it. Yeah, because if majority of the students failed maybe that section, exam, it's coming back and it's gonna be deep. So rather you write it down so it will be easier for you to remember. So I'd go, like, whenever I would have breaks, even for ITC, I would just go through my black book. Like I said, I have cutoffs when it comes to the day before I write a test or an exam, but I do go through my black book sometimes, even before bed, for comfort purposes, because I know we get nervous and all of that. So instead of trying to attempt a question the day before, I just go through my black book. So yeah, that's very important, guys. Black book, black book, black book. I'm kidding. So if you are studying CTA or anything, try have a black book where you write down everything, like the silly mistakes that you sometimes make and everything else. So it'll be easier for you to remember, and you can go through it the day before the test, the day of the test, just before you write, so that you don't make those mistakes. So yeah, okay, let me just continue and wrap up the CTA thing. I'm sorry this video will slightly be longer. Okay, let me just stop it anyway. I'm sorry, guys. We'll eventually get it right, okay? Anyway, thank you for watching. May love, peace, and grace be unto you. Mwah.